Okay, Assalamualaikum and good morning to everyone both in the Bilik faculty as well as those of you online. Thank you for taking time out of your busy schedules to join me today. And I hope it's also not too late for me to wish all of you a happy new year, whether it's the Roman calendar year or the Chinese New Year. So when we were preparing this session, I was asked, what's the difference between Perubatan and Amanat? Okay, because should we call it Perubatan Dekan or should we call it Amanat Dekan? And so I actually had to do a little bit of background reading to find out, when do you use these terms? And essentially, Perubatan is just a message. And, throughout the year, I may write to you or I may engage with you to give you updates on various aspects of either the academic or administrative processes in the faculty. Amanat, however, has a much heavier meaning, and it is basically the process of handing over something precious to the person or persons who are best capable of looking after it. Okay, so it's a much heavier meaning. It doesn't happen many times throughout the year. It just happens usually at the beginning of the year. And so just as the Vice Chancellor held his Amanat Naib Chancellor at the beginning of the year, handing over the welfare and well-being of the university to the deans and the heads of institutes and centers, my task today is actually to hand over to you, the heads of department and the rest of Warga FOM, the safety and well-being of Faculty of Medicine and how it relates to the safety and well-being of the university, so that we will continue to flourish and thrive long, long into the future. We are all very much aware that we are the oldest Faculty of Medicine in the country. We are the oldest university in the country. But if you study history or you have an interest in history, you will know that many civilizations have flourished but then fallen. And when they have fallen, it is usually because they did not anticipate that things would change. Okay, that practices in the past might not work so well for the future. And I think our goal today, as we stand at the cusp of the new year, is to reflect on our past, take stock of our present, and then actively plan for our future. Because if we don't plan, we are going to someday find ourselves like those fallen civilizations. Okay, we will no longer be the of the past. We may actually become extinct if we don't plan from now. Okay, and so what I propose to do today is maybe just reflect a little bit on the past year, because I think you all agree that we've had quite a roller coaster and turbulent year. But there were many positives to take away from it. And then I just want to quickly run through the various university and faculty level strategic plans, because I think it's important that you have that bigger picture, you have that context, and then you will understand why various initiatives have been taken at faculty level. It's not just something that I dreamed up overnight. It is guided by this master plan. All right. So I hope that will give you some context. I will then go through what we have actually done in faculty over the past year to try and make those plans and initiatives a reality, as well as how we are planning for the future, both in the short term and in the long term. I hope you get better, whoever you are. And I hope it's not COVID. All right. So just because there have been quite a lot of changes over the past year in terms of personnel, I think it's worthwhile that we just quickly introduce you to the members of faculty management, because these are the people that you will need to engage with as you try to achieve both your personal, individual, or departmental or faculty goals. Okay, so can I have the slides, please? I also, for the heads of department who are either here or online, I will apologize in advance if some of these slides, are repetitions of things I have mentioned to you before. But I do believe that repetition is good for retention and for action. Okay, so bear with me, but I think it's very important for the rest of the faculty to be aware of this. Okay, so we'll go to the next slide, please. I hope everyone's able to see the slides, and I hope you can also hear me reasonably well. I would prefer not to have to take my mask off because there are other people in the room. Okay, so this is what we call FOM top management, but really I think we are facilitators and enablers, okay, for the positive, okay, not enablers for negative things. So I have with me here Professor Yazid, who is our Deputy Dean for Undergraduate Studies, Prof. Sharul Bahia, who is our Deputy Dean for Postgraduate Studies, Prof. Sanjay, who is in charge of research, Prof. Wan, who is in charge of development and infrastructure, and our newest member is Associate Professor Dr. Tengku Sharizal, who is the inaugural Deputy Dean for Student Affairs. This is a new portfolio, and I think it was something that was long overdue because Yazid was, I think he's aged kind of like 5 years since he took over the post of undergraduate Deputy Dean, because it is actually a very heavy portfolio. So these are the Deputy Deans that help me manage staff and student body of approximately 4,000. Okay, so it's huge. We are the largest faculty of medicine in the country. We have, I think, more than 30 postgraduate programs. We have at least 3 undergraduate programs, and of course, numerous PhD students and so on. And so I know that certainly when I was less involved in faculty management and as a clinician, you just thought that things ran automatically. But I can tell you that we are the embodiment of that analogy of the swan gliding across the lake, calm and serene on the top, but paddling furiously on the bottom to make sure that things run to schedule and that everyone is not disadvantaged by lapses in administrative processes. Okay, so I can tell you it's a huge amount of work. And each of these people on the screen that you see here spend many hours, day and night, weekends, public holidays, particularly, like those in the development and infrastructure team. When things go wrong, they have to be responsive no matter the time of day or night. However, these are all very, very good people, very open to engagement, and I think they are very, very responsive. So I would encourage you to contact them and or their teams if you have any problems relating to each of these portfolios. I also want to mention, because we didn't have a slide specifically for them, the administrative staff, and they are headed by Puan Raja Sothi, who again is a new addition to Faculty of Medicine, and she also takes on a new portfolio, which is that of the administrative manager. So she will oversee all the administrative and support staff. I do want to mention Encik Hanif, who looks after our kitty, our money. So very, very important person. And Encik Firdaus, who is our chief engineer and looks after, a huge portfolio as well. Whenever you have problems with your infrastructure, he's the person to go to. And of course, with our 2 large portfolios, undergraduate and postgraduate, we have Puan Junaida, for UG, and Encik Mardi, who is in charge of postgraduate. Last but definitely not least, I want to give a shout out to Dr. Cindy Tay, who is our quality manager. And those of you who have been involved in either reviewing or creating new curricula, you will know how essential she is, because she will help you get your programs passed by either MQA if it's a new program, or through our own QMAP processes if it's just a review of existing programs. Okay, so these are the management staff. They of course have teams below them as well that help to coordinate and run everything. So obviously I can't go and name every single head of department, because then we'll be here until tomorrow. But just to say that I have really good heads at the moment. They're very collaborative. I think they also help to facilitate what the faculty needs to do. And I hope that, when they engage with you with instructions, or, need your help to bring certain projects to fruition, I hope that you in turn will give your cooperation and collaboration to them. Next slide, please. Next slide, please. Okay, so I'm just very quickly going to run through some highlights of 2021. And again, forgive me if I have left out, but for the sake of brevity, we can't include every single event or activity. But these are just some of the highlights. Next, please. Okay, so obviously we have and continue to deal with the COVID-19 pandemic. And I think 2021 really emphasized that it's here to stay. We're just going to have to find a way to live with it. We're no longer, taking the view that someday it will all be over, because it's not. We just have to figure out a way that we can live relatively normal and productive lives while still dealing with the pandemic. And so, as you can see, we have transferred many of our educational activities to virtual platforms. And I have to thank all the departments for making the effort in this respect. But also, I think it's important for you to know that it required quite a lot of investment on the part of the faculty in terms of providing you with that IT infrastructure. Okay, so it's an investment not just in financial terms, because we had to buy a lot of equipment, as well as subscriptions for online platforms, but it's also the hours put in by the administrative and support staff to ensure that your programs can run uninterrupted. Next. Okay, so in addition to teaching and learning online, we also have managed to continue our research collaborations online, whether it be via virtual symposia and webinars, or actually initiating research agreements, interinstitutional research agreements, and then following through on that with various research-related activities. So it's amazing what you can achieve if you have the will and the passion to do so, but of course, ably supported by the technology. Next, please. Right. I think what the last year has also really highlighted to us are perhaps the quiet ones in the Faculty of Medicine, the Department of Social and Preventive Medicine or Public Health. Public health, what was it that they told me? They are the hidden superheroes. They make huge advances to the nation's healthcare, but they're not publicized, right? But with COVID-19, I think we really understood, or perhaps we always understood, but we really saw how important they were. So I want to give a shout out to the department for helping out in the COVID relief efforts. Um, they are not only very, very essential when it comes to delivering healthcare, but I think from a faculty perspective, they are also one of the top researchers as a department. And I think we could learn a lot from how they do things, particularly since they are actually clinically involved as well. So yeah, kudos to SPM. Next, please. I think it's really important that we appreciate and acknowledge long-serving staff who have come to the end of their tenure. And so this year, in spite of the organizational difficulties to conduct such an event, we did have an appreciation ceremony for our staff who had retired. And I think you'll see in the photos some faces that I think you would definitely miss them if you don't see them now. But we hope that through appointments like the honorary professor, that we will still be able to leverage on their expertise and their wealth of experience as well as their wisdom to help mentor and guide the next generation of academics. Next, please. Okay, in terms of providing state-of-the-art research facilities, we have in the past often relied on grants, research grants. We've also relied on grants from but as you know, many of these grants are drying up. And so in order to still fulfill our research targets, we've had to find other ways of raising funds to develop such facilities. And one of these is the Datuk Panglima Kinta Yusof Research Center, which was inaugurated at the end of 2021. And this was made possible by a generous donation from the family of Datuk Panglima Kinta Yusof. And as you can see, our Tuanku Chancellor himself came to open or launch the center. And I hope that it will be a sort of an incubator, I suppose, for research efforts in the faculty. Next, please. But it seems as if the planet is sort of having healthcare issues itself. We talk about planetary health, and we were given evidence of it with the floods at the end of last year that extended beyond even the areas that we know commonly are affected by floods. So something is happening with our planet, that we are affected by such natural disasters. Unfortunately, many of our staff and our students were affected, but I will say that the faculty rose to the occasion. And I want to thank the departments who helped with raising funds and providing volunteers to help out your colleagues. The faculty itself also raised funds for assistance. And we had some contributions from the university as well. I know that some of you are still suffering the fallout from this, but rest assured that we will do our best to ensure that you are supported during these trying times. Next, please. Yes, next, please. Okay. I certainly remember feeling, as an ordinary member of staff, that the challenges and the trials and tribulations that we feel on the ground are often not heard by top management. So it was very pleasing to note that actually our grouses are being heard, And this culminated in a visit from the new LPU chair, Tan Sri Zarina Anwar, who came to visit our faculty at the beginning of the year to really see for herself some or many of the problems that we have faced in the not too distant past. I think one of the big grouses that we have had is our dilapidated infrastructure, and I understand why perhaps it was not prioritized because we, had research KPIs and educational KPIs to chase. But really, if roofs are falling in and spaces can't be used because of termites, etc., there's only so long that we can hold out before we lose our status as one of the top medical faculties in the country, because students will stop coming, right? If they do not have the facilities to support their programs. So we showed her all the wards. Okay, we did not show her the nice places. We showed her the wards, and I think she's taken that on board. I have been told that it's been taken even up to ministerial level, and that they acknowledge that they should be giving a support. It shouldn't be that, oh, you're the oldest university, look after yourself, right? I think if they want us to keep on batting above our average, they need to give us some support, not just moral support, but actual financial support. Okay. The other point I want to know is that I have had meetings also with the Holdings chair, Tan Sri Rahim, as well as the Holdings CEO. And again, they acknowledge that they need to do more to support us in real terms. Yeah, and I mean money. Okay, basically it's all money. So some of you have been contacted to give me quotations, etc., so that we can try and get some equipment for you. But there will be other developments moving forward where I understand that Holdings may be taking over the UPUM portfolio. So that's UPUM manages consultancies for the university, as well as perhaps some of the business opportunities. And so they are going to find ways to help us capitalize on our expertise, okay, in terms of attracting consultancies that will hopefully bring in revenue as well. Okay. The third aspect is that they are keen to help those of you who have research products that have potential commercial value. They want to help you with that aspect, because most of us don't really know how to commercialize things. Okay, so that's a third possible collaboration with Holdings. And finally, they also have acknowledged our infrastructure problems. And so just earlier this week, the team from Holdings came over and together with our development and infrastructure team here, did a walkabout to actually look at our facilities to see how they can help us to renovate for the future generations. Okay, so hopefully these will all actually result in meaningful outcomes. But I would like to remain optimistic about it, and I hope you all will as well. Next. Okay, and despite all of the trials and tribulations we face, many of our staff and students have still managed to gain accolades over the past year. And I'm just going to mention some of them. Again, not an exhaustive list by any means. Next. Okay, the first one, I guess it's really to congratulate all of you, the whole faculty, because we were announced as the faculty with the highest income generation for 2021. And that's by virtue actually of our programs of study. Okay, so as you know, we receive a portion of the fees for our undergraduate and postgraduate programs. And I think this was calculated based on the income from undergraduate programs, so from our Tabung Satu So, when we say we need to improve the quality of our programs, etc., it's so that we can attract fee-paying students, which actually adds to our income generation. And that money actually allows us to upgrade our various facilities or our, processes. So I hope we will go from strength to strength, because one of the comments I heard from Faculty of Engineering is that, oh, we're not that far behind. We're going to chase this and beat Faculty of Medicine this year. So anyway, it's not about the competition. I think we can definitely do better than this, because we weren't even trying. This was just, our normal thing. So now that we know that there is an incentive for this, let's do it, okay? And we're here to help actually at management on if you've got ideas for how to monetize teaching and learning or other activities. Next, please. Of course, we have amazing individuals in our faculty who have been acknowledged and accredited at world level. We all know Professor Ng Kwan Hong, and of course, Prof. Adiba needs no introduction. And we also have Professor Wu Yin Ling from ONG. So, they have been given accolades at world level on various platforms. And I'm sure many of you are also capable of achieving this. If you want to know how, engage with them, ask them, how did you do it? Because I'm sure they'd be willing to share with you. I really don't think that Warga FOM is any lower than any other institution in the world, honestly. And I've met people from, all these august institutions. What they have is passion, commitment, and of course they do need some institutional support, and that's what we will try to do for you if you've got the commitment for it. Next, please. Okay, these are just more of our staff who have won research-related awards. Next, please. And you can see there's quite a good spread. It's not just from the non-clinical departments. We also have people who have won research awards from clinical departments. So it's possible. And this is why I wanted to show this to you, because very often when you are working in silos or you're just comparing yourself with your immediate neighbor, you sort of think, well, it's not possible. I'm a busy clinician. I am a surgeon. I will never have time to do this. But the reality is that it is possible, and it's possible with collaboration. You just have to break out of your silos. And so that's something that we will be hoping to help you to do over the coming year. Next. And it's not just the staff. Our students are also well capable of winning awards, of course, mentored by our staff. And this is just a selection, but there were many, many more that we weren't able to fit onto the slide. Next, please. Okay, so I think this slide I added because I'm sure this is on everyone's mind, with all these rising expectations. Can I reasonably expect to still advance in my career? And I suppose the short answer to that is yes, but you can't expect it to happen organically. You need to know what the expectations are, you need to plan, and you need to collaborate, okay? So I put this up because I think there is still confusion between what is KPIs and what is SAPT. Okay, and people tend to conflate the two and argue about things in one which actually is relevant to the other. I acknowledge that there is overlap, one will impact the other, but I think you need to be clear about the differences. Your KPIs, that huge exercise that we just went through, that is just related to your annual targets, right? And what are the new things about how the KPIs are being assessed in the past year are, number one, the shift to the electronic system that allows you to calculate your points. Okay, so the KPI pointer system. The second thing is that your evaluation is now split into two. Okay, you have your academic or your administrative performance evaluation, and then you have your poise evaluation. Okay, so I can honestly say there were a lot of obstacles along the way. There are a lot of challenges along the way to develop this, because remember, we were developing this from scratch. But I think with the input from all of you and also our engagement with university management, we have gotten it to a state where most of you are able to show that you are performing satisfactorily. Okay, and I'm sort of halfway through the final evaluations, and just so that you know, I have to actually evaluate every single one of you. So what I can say is that most of you are doing well. All right. We have, however, identified that there are some individuals and some departments that are struggling a little. Much of this is related to staff being in the early stages of their careers. And so we will be calling on you to come for a chat to see if we can actually help you improve in the coming years. What I will need to tell you, though, is that having seen the draft of the university KPIs for the coming year, I can say that your KPIs individually will probably change quite significantly for the coming year. So last year was sort of the pilot, and so we were quite or the university was quite lenient in their expectations. For 2022, the university metrics are going to be very, very much more objective, much more numbers based. Okay, and I think that that will trickle down to the faculties as well. We have not received the final version. We've not received what the faculty KPIs are yet. But I just want to give you a heads up that if you thought last year was bad, this year may be a little bit more challenging. But like I said, if we know in advance, we can plan and then we can strategize, okay, how everyone is going to achieve them. All right. For the SAPT, the revision of the SAPT is underway. It's not been finalized yet. So at the moment, we are still operating on the previous SAPTs. And I note that over the last year, many of you have actually applied for promotion, and I've sat in many promotion panels. What I need to tell you, and this is really, really important, is that although we have the minimum targets, and we have vetted your applications usually at faculty level based on those minimum targets. Just because you pass those vetting levels and you're called for interview centrally, that does not mean you will automatically get the promotion. I need to really, really emphasize this because I've seen it in action in the past year, that people that we thought would meet the expectations actually fail at the last hurdle, which is convincing the panel. And this panel comprises, especially for professor level, this panel comprises the Vice Chancellor, members of the Senate, members of LPU, okay? And very often these are the most senior professors that are evaluating you, okay? And so I have been a little disappointed sometimes when our staff come to these interviews and seem completely unprepared. Okay, it's your promotion. You need to fight for it. Okay, and you need to come ready to field the questions that are put to you. So I hope moving forward that those of you who are applying at some point before that central process, please do come and see me to discuss, how you're going to approach this, because I can tell you that if you don't prepare, you are going to be turned away. All right. you do need to prepare for this. Don't think you can wing it on the day. So I just want to give you a heads up about that. All right. Next, please. Okay, so I mentioned giving you some context, and I know there has been some confusion because there seem to be so many plans coming up and different teams and task forces, etc. So I just want to give you the main framework for this. There are two big university plans. The first is University Malaya Strategic Plan. That's a 5-year time frame. The other one is the University Malaya Transformation Plan, and that is a much longer time frame. It's 10 years. Okay, I say there are two, but actually there are three, because the third one is regarding the management of the land, the master plan, and that's a 30-year time frame. Okay, so you've got 5 years, 10 years, and 30 years. And obviously, because of the time frame and because of the main objectives of each of these plans, you will have to approach it slightly differently. And that's why you have different task forces working on these. Okay, but essentially, these plans are needed so that a big, machinery like can actually move forward together. If you don't have these plans, it will be a mess, I can tell you. Okay, so next slide, please. Okay. Any strategic plan usually begins with a vision and a mission. And I think it would be remiss of us if we did not know what our current university vision and mission is. Okay, so if we've highlighted the key words that you need to remember. The vision is that we're going to impact the world. You go for interviews, they're going to ask you about this, okay, your promotion interview. How are you impacting the world? So you've got to start thinking about it, and you've got to start strategizing your activities so that you can eventually show how you are impacting the world. Okay, and then obviously the mission, which is more of the action part of it, is that we're going to continue pushing the boundaries of knowledge and that we're going to nurture aspiring leaders. So boundaries of knowledge, new knowledge, etc., but also being leaders. So it's not enough just for you to be part of a team. We want you to lead, not just lead at faculty or lead at university, but lead Malaysia, lead at the world level. Okay, and like I said, we have precedents. We have people in our faculty who've done this, so it's not impossible. Okay, next, please. So everything you will see from now on, you see, is guided by that. The fact that we want to have world impact, the fact that we want to be leaders, the fact that we want to be innovative, creating new knowledge. Okay, but it's also important that we are guided by our values. And I think previously we had like 10 values for the university and no one could remember what they were. And so management decided that, okay, let's just make it more concise and reduce it to 5 and give you a nice acronym so that you can remember this, right? So all of you will have had to fill up your statement on how you embody poise value. So I think you should have retained this. But just for completeness sake, it's poise, passion, oneness, integrity, sincerity, and empathy. So everything that you do, you have to be able to relate to these poise values. I know it sounds very like campaign, something like that, right? But this is the reality. This is the framework that you have to fulfill if you want to progress in the university. Next, please. Okay, and we mentioned just now the strategic plan, the 5-year plan, and again, this is to guide our activities. What I want you to remember is that there are 5 main pillars. And if you see, pillar 1 is income generation. I know I've been banging on about this to the heads of department until they're sick of it, but it really is the main focus of the university right now, because without money, nothing else can happen. Okay, so I need you to understand this, that the university has been supporting its activities in the past by dipping into its reserves. Now, those of you who have any kind of financial savviness, you know that reserves are, the name reserve means that you're not supposed to touch it, right? Unless it's like some dire emergency. But unfortunately, we've been dipping into it so much because of reduced grants from the government, but also because we are not used to having to justify our financial existence. Basically, we've always relied on being given money, right? So that mindset needs to change, because if we basically don't expect that it's going to come from central. I can tell you now that every time we want to employ a staff, a contract staff, etc., we get approval from central, but faculty bayar gunakan sumber dalaman. What is our sumber dalaman? From our programs. Okay, so we've obviously got to find other means of generating income. So I know I'm really pushing this, but everything that you want to do research, to develop new services, develop all of it requires money. You need new stuff, it needs money. Okay, so we need to really look at this for the coming year. Your P2, your pillar 2 is teaching and learning. We want to reinstate the importance of teaching and learning. It's not just about research. Okay, teaching and learning, we feel, is a strength. It is something that we can relatively easily innovate. It is something that will almost immediately bring you income. Okay, but of course, research and innovations will continue to be important. We've now recognized that we need to manage our talent better, and that we need to actually inculcate the spirit of entrepreneurship amongst our staff and our students. Okay, now if you look at the bottom line where it says create, that is the acronym for the transformation plan, the 10-year plan. Okay, and so as you can see, the pillars there are a little bit broader. It's more about providing the framework through which everything else can happen. Okay, so we talk about governance and business, again, reimagining education, research eminence, digitalizing, as well as enabling lean management processes. But again, in line with talent management, we want to transform the culture. We want to nurture our talent. We want to enhance the learning and work environment. So I'll try and show you a little bit about what's in the plans for achieving this. Next, please. So this is a busy slide, but as you can see, for the strategic plan, there were a number of task forces that were established that worked on the different areas that I mentioned just now. And they came up with the 5 pillars, as well as 41 objectives and 113 initiatives. Next slide, please. And what you can see is that actually over the course of 2021, they have actually started most of the strategies. 12 out of the 16 strategies have actually been rolled out already. And some of those were the emphasis on ODL and remote learning, micro-credentialing, etc., trying to increase intake through SATU. In terms of talent management, the pointer system, that was part of it. Some of you have been involved in upskilling and reskilling activities, and some of you have also been involved in KIK. Okay, so all of these were actually not just done ad hoc, it was done to the plan. Okay, next. When it comes to the transformation plan, again, there are 26 strategies and 21 out of them have been already rolled out. So you can see that things are really, really moving very rapidly. Okay, and that's why we get a little bit breathless also, but I think it is for the good. It's where we need to go, actually. All right, so I just want to mention here, perhaps again under the transform culture, they talk about transformational leadership, and that's why we've been emphasizing over the past year, equipping yourself with leadership skills, because they are different from the skills of an excellent clinician or an excellent researcher. Okay, next please. Right. So I mentioned just now the UM master plan. This is the 30-year plan, and I think it's useful for you to have a look at it just so that you can see the blueprint for how our campus is going to develop, or we hope will develop over the next 30 years. Next, please. Okay, next, please. Okay, so I hope you can see this map. On the left, you will see the whole UM campus, at least the Lembah Pantai campus. Obviously, we have land elsewhere also. And what I want you to focus on is the blue area at the bottom, because that is the area that has been designated for as the health zone, basically. And on the right, you will see it in magnified detail. And I know it says that PPUM health zone, actually it's not, it is the health zone. So it includes PPUM, obviously, but it also includes UMSC, as well as the Faculty of Medicine. And it will actually also include Faculty of Pharmacy and Faculty of Dentistry. So basically the UM health ecosystem. Okay, next, please. Okay, when it comes to the whole campus, however, some of the strategies or the plans that they are looking at are to sort of improve connectivity and mobility. And so you will see that they are planning to convert some of the current roads into pedestrian areas. We are going to have an MRT line running through the campus, but I've been made to understand that after a bit of toing and froing, that it is going to be underground. So it should not, it's going to be underground, which is better in the long run, because then at least, it's not disturbing our skyline and you're creating obstacles for us to pass through. But the construction obviously will be challenging. Okay. I believe that there will be 2 stations. One of them will be like near or just outside where Kapal is supposed to be. I'm not sure where the other station is supposed to be, but we'll have to wait for the final plans. And as you can see, there will be bicycle routes, car parks, so that we don't have to keep fighting for parking space. So that is all coming in the future. Next, please. This is just showing you the plans for the central area or the core zone. And I don't know if you can see it very well, but if you look at, can you see my cursor? Okay, so this is the main library, okay? And then this area here is where the current student plaza is. And normally we just drive around this way, right? Past the library and then turn right into past DTC. So what's going to happen is this entire area is going to be pedestrianized. Okay, so we can only drive outside of this, and this will be walking area. Okay, and one of the reasons for doing this is to kind of create connectivity between the library and the student facilities, but also just to reduce congestion centrally, and just make it more pleasant. Like many of the top universities in the world, it's a lot of walking areas. Of course, our climate isn't exactly very conducive to walking, but we can change. Maybe we need to provide more showers and changing facilities or something like that. But anyway, this is the plan. Okay, next, please. And so just going to show you a very short video which tries to visualize this in 3D a little bit. Play dari awal. It's only about 1.5 minutes or so, not too long. Okay, so that's the plan. Obviously, to achieve that, we need money. Next, please. But I understand that the university is working very hard to source those funds, and as we are. Um, Finally, I want to just touch on Health, and again, I think there's been a lot of confusion. There's been because it's that the initials are UMH. It gets confused a lot with Holdings. Holdings is a business company, okay, and it is looking at all the business ventures that enters into. Health was basically a project that was aimed at bringing together 5 entities, and I'll go into that a little bit. Next, please. And as you can see, it is part of the overall University Malaya strategic initiatives. Yeah, so you've got the transformation plan, you've got the strategic plan, and then you've got Health, and then the last one is actually the Library strategic plan, which I'm not going to go into today. But let's just focus on Health. Next. And it was basically out of the recognition that these 5 entities, which are the Faculty of Medicine, Faculty of Dentistry, Faculty of Pharmacy, as well as the 2 hospitals, UMMC or PPUM and UMSC, had each sort of been really quite separate and developed on their own sort of goals and objectives. But because of that, many of us who straddle more than one of these entities as staff felt ourselves being pulled in opposite directions. So, UMSC was all about generating income, so do more, make more money, but that would take away from academic activities, and thus, Faculty of Medicine was not happy because their objectives were not being achieved. People were doing too much private work. And at the same time, it had an impact on the public hospital as well because of shared facilities and, the fact that the infrastructure was not seamless. Many of you, I'm sure, have torn your hair out because the EMR doesn't talk to each other and so on and so forth, right? And so we felt that it was really important. This initiative started during Prof. Adiba's time, that we find some way to make ourselves see that actually we have common visions and goals, right? And that we need to, not just in terms of the vision, but in terms of the implementation, we needed to align it better. We needed to make it more streamlined. We needed it to be more seamless. Okay, and that ultimately this was needed because otherwise we would not be sustainable. We would just cannibalize each other and then, sort of drive each other out of existence. Okay, so next. All right, so I'm just showing you the timeline just to explain to you that it does take time to get these things off the ground. So the first phase, which started in 2019, was really data gathering, and many of you have participated in interviews to try and establish what the problems were and to sort of start to have an inkling of what some solutions might be. And so right now we've actually just completed or coming to the end of phase 2, which was the assessment of the legal aspects of trying to bring together all these 5 entities, as well as the establishment of the steering committee and the various task forces that are going to work on the proposed initiatives. Okay, so there have been a few meetings over the past year, and at the moment, I guess everyone's kind of been busy sorting out the KPI issues. So the Health related work has been a little on the back burner, but it's going to commence again this year. Okay, so look out for changes there. I will say, however, next slide, please, that when the consultants that we engaged to look at how to strategize this, when they proposed the initiatives, they had come up with 3 possible framework solutions. Okay, And one was the extreme, was like complete integration, like we would no longer be separate entities, we would just be one big Health academic health center. All right. And that was why that legal evaluation needed to happen, because we were actually established on different legal frameworks. Okay, UMSC is based on the private hospital framework. PPUM is a different framework, and it has a statute of its own, separate from the faculty and the university. Okay, so all of that needed to be looked at. And so the upshot of it all is that I think the consensus is that full integration is not practical, and is not going to happen. Okay, however, it is clear that we do need to align better. We do need to make our infrastructure talk to each other better. And if possible, we will try to integrate that. Okay, so it's going to be a balance, some integration, and then some will be separate but aligned. Okay, I just want to draw your attention to the bottom right of this slide, where you will see what are the main pillars or goals that we want to emphasize for Health. Importance of teaching. We're not just about clinical service. It is about importance of teaching and research, and also this transition to patient-centered care rather than physician-centered care. Next. Okay, yeah, I'm not really going to go into every single initiative, but what I will say is that following the work of the various task forces, we've whittled down a little bit the 98 initiatives to 83, because there were some overlaps. And as you can see, many of the initiatives align very well with the strategic plan as well as the transformation plan. So we're not really reinventing the wheel. We're just aligning everything together. Next. And so as you can see, after all of that work, we've actually refined what the Health vision is. And so it is to be a world-class leading education, research, and patient-centric academic health center to enhance community well-being and the nation. So again, it marries very well with the vision, yeah, global, impacting the world, so on and so forth. All right, next. But I think what's very exciting is this further development of the ecosystem. So you can see that the 5 main entities in the center, but you will see that we are looking at expanding beyond these 5 entities. And this may be through partnerships, through virtual collaborations, and, not just in Malaysia, but beyond. And involving both public as well as private healthcare. So exciting, but now we've got to make it happen. Next. Okay, so I've taken about an hour, and I'm only now just getting to the Faculty of Medicine strategic plan, but please bear with me, because I think this is the one that's immediately relevant and directly relevant to you. This is for the 5 years, and as you can see, we've already completed 1 year of the strategic plan. Next. Again, our vision and our mission marries very well with that of the university. So there's the globality is there, the transformation aspect is there, okay, knowledge and empowerment and so on. Next. Our culture and values as well, again, marries very well with poise. So you've got integrity there. And you can see that integrity is really at the forefront of everyone's minds. But I think because of who we are, in addition to the other aspects of global mindedness, we did feel it important to say academic freedom should be up there. Okay, we need to be able to speak our minds. We need to be able to say what's right. And I think that also lends itself well to the professionalism that we are supposed to exhibit. Okay, professionalism is not just about knowledge or skills, it's how we behave. And I think that's something I want to really emphasize to all of you. Okay, and finally, our social responsibility. It's not just research for research's sake. It's not just teaching to bring in money. It's actually to make a difference. And that is really what we are here for. Many of you, I know, if it was just about money, you would not be here, right? You're all really sought after by the private healthcare industry, or even private educational facilities. But you're here because you feel you have more to contribute than just to make money, right? And I hope that you will continue to value this so that we can work together for the years to come. Next. Right. So as with any strategic plan, we have 4 thrusts or pillars. The first of these is people and empowerment. Second is academic excellence. Third is global research, impactful global research. And the fourth is infrastructure and financial sustainability. And there's a reason we put people and empowerment as first, because you are what makes us successful. Yes, we need infrastructure. Yes, we need to do research and all that. But without you, none of this will happen. Okay, next. Next. So in terms of our goals and strategies for people and empowerment, just focus on the top headings, right? We want to have sustainable leadership, because if you have poor leadership, the kapal will karam, right? Okay, then we need to manage our talent better, and then we need to really consolidate our culture and legacy. Of course, we've got a culture and legacy, but we need to really consolidate that. Nantilah, belum lagi. Okay, so for sustainable leadership, we need to identify and then train potential leaders. So when I ask you to volunteer, or I ask your heads to nominate you, if your name is put up, please don't turn it down. Okay, use it as an opportunity for you to grow in a personal capacity, but also use it as an opportunity to make meaningful change. Okay, and for those of you who are already leaders, we want to acknowledge and to reward you. Okay, how exactly I will have to discuss with finance, but we want to reward you. And I think we need to have a solid succession plan in place. Okay, and that's why, again, we've been over the past year, I've been meeting with some of you just to talk over, how you see yourself from an administrative leadership perspective. Okay, don't see it as a negative, see it as a positive, is what I would like to emphasize here. In terms of talent management, we want to attract the right talent. And I know I've been saying, oh, we've got lots of posts, please try and find bodies to fill it, but it's got to be the right bodies. So some of the people that have been identified, they're really a little bit too junior, or a little bit, the CVs are not suitable for an academic setup. So it is important that you select the right people. And at least when they come for the interviews, they need to be able to sell themselves as an academic, not just as a clinician. Okay, and we are fortunate that many of you in very senior academic positions have decided to stay. My worry is actually the mid-level, which is where we have the highest attrition. Okay, they've completed their training. They are ready to be groomed for higher positions, but then we lose them. And so my worry is that in the next 3 to 5 years, many of the senior staff will retire, and we don't necessarily have people that are ready to step into their shoes. Okay, so we've got to try and do better in our talent management. I think for culture and legacy, we'll go on to the subsequent slides, and I'll say a little bit about that. Next, please. Okay, so putting our money where our mouths are. In the past year, we have actually organized and conducted a series of leadership courses, and these were meant to be for the existing heads of department, because many of them were new. We will complete this in March of this year. And then we're going to start focusing on young leaders. So those of you who might not necessarily be in leadership roles right now, but have been identified as potential leaders. Okay, so we'll be reaching out to you a little bit later in the year. Please do come. It is actually quite fun. I'm sure your heads will say they had reasonable fun attending the course. because it's about providing you with the skills that you need in order to do this. And that way it won't seem to be so difficult or so burdensome. Eventually, we're going to develop a leadership profile and also aptitude testing for those who are going to step into leadership roles. Okay, next. This is just to show you some pictures. See, they're all smiling, so it wasn't that bad. Next, please. That was the first series where we actually tackled the more administrative aspects of being a leader. And then in the second series, next. Second series, we looked at the more transformational elements of leadership, how to get people to go where they need to go, how to deal with pressure and stress, things like that. So I thought I enjoyed it, and I enjoyed seeing the heads of department doing their exercises, physical exercises. Next, please. For talent management, we're going to restructure some of the units in the faculty so that they can work together to help you. Okay, so for instance, eventually units like the medical education unit, Merdu, the humanities unit, e-health, etc., museums and labs management, we may actually park them under one big roof so that it's easier for them to work with each other and enhance your potential. Okay. Of course, there are other aspects of talent management, providing you mental health support, engaging with alumni and creating a legacy trail for children of alumni, as well as I think what we really need is almost like a school, isn't it? You need to have a guidance counselor, career guidance counselor, so that the minute you come in as staff, we start talking to you about what are your career options, how do we help you get there, rather than expecting it to happen organically. Next. For culture and legacy, these are just some of the initiatives that we have undertaken or will undertake. I've mentioned a little bit about MedHugh, but I'll say more in the next slide. Visibility, we've worked very hard over the past year to increase the visibility of the faculty. And I think perhaps this was one of the positives with the pandemic, because we're more comfortable with virtual platforms. And by providing these activities virtually, it's increased the accessibility and the reach. Okay, so it's no longer just available to Faculty of Medicine. These websites and publications are all available to the public, actually. And so we hope that we will raise visibility that way. As part of Health, we have changed breakfast at FOM to breakfast at Health. So you will notice that there are presentations not just from us, but also from Faculty of Dentistry, Faculty of Pharmacy. And we also bring in some non-academic talks also to be more relevant and to be more engaging. You see at the bottom that we plan to engage much more with alumni. And what I want to just focus on for the moment is the oneness programs. Okay, and this is riffing off poise, where the O is oneness. I have realized that because of the pandemic and us having to distance, etc., it's sort of almost deepened the separation or the silos that we work in. And I think it's really important that we come together for non-academic activities so that we can actually build those relationships, which will then later translate into better collaboration on the academic front. So some of the things that we have done across departments, across the whole faculty, have included town halls, and then I know many of you were involved in the Gotong Royong Perdana. But moving forward, I really want us to think about activities like an annual concert, like an annual sports day, a bit like sekolah lah, you know, it's like school. In school, you always had annual sports day, annual concert, right? Because there is a wealth of untapped talent out there. I mean, both amongst the students as well as the staff. And if you think about supporting mental health, if you think about providing a release from the pressures of your academic work, if you think about getting to know one another on a more social front, I think these are some of the ways that we can do it. Okay, so we will be advertising for people who might be interested to either direct, plan, or actually be the performers. And I hope many of you will volunteer. We will find money somehow to support this, but I think it's really, really important to do. Okay, next, and remember I talked about income generation. If I want to convince philanthropists to donate to us, and I'm talking about quanta of millions, yeah, we're not talking about 100,000, 200,000, no, millions, right? You need to wine and dine them a bit. And so I think that's where a performance is unique, because nobody else is going to have a faculty of medicine choir or dance troupe or whatever it is, right? That I think will be one of the ways that we can convince them that we're worth supporting. Okay, a little bit different from the usual. Anyway, so watch this space. Next, please. T-shirt ada. Okay, so this is just showing you some of the initiatives that we have taken. So you see Breakfast at UM Health at the bottom left. The website, we've reinvigorated the website after a lot of, makcik dengan rotan kan, kind of getting it to be redone. And thank you very much to Prof. Faisal and Cik Hadi for doing this work. At the top, though, I just want to say that we have resurrected Rubrica, which is our non-academic news bulletin. So again, this is about just highlighting what all of you are doing, so that we know. Okay, it's very sad to me that you in your own departments or your own units, you're doing wonderful things, but the rest of the faculty doesn't know. Okay, so I would encourage you, whatever events you have, please do let the editorial team at Rubrica know about it. We intend to have issues every month so that there's plenty of space for you to put up your documents. We're also going to be conducting interviews with some of you, so you'll be a featured person for the month. Even sort of reflective essays, we've had some from the students. Okay, so we're reaching out to the student bodies as well to provide their perspective on various aspects of their lives. So please do help us breathe life into Rubrica. I think it was initiated firstly in around 2018, but then it kind of died. So we're trying to make it more engaging, and for that to happen, we need you to participate. So I hope you'll be sending your events our way. Next. I mentioned MedHu just now, so this is the Medical Humanities and Ethics Unit. Julia Enkesan is heading this, but there's plenty of room, as you can see, in the 4 units for all of you to get interested and engage. Okay, whether what rocks your boat is the creative arts, or you're a very ethically minded person, whether you like the linguistic aspects of medicine, or if you're a history buff, there's something for everyone here. So please engage. And I think this is something, again, that is unique to our faculty. And I hope you'll help to make it something that is a talking point amongst the other universities. Next. These are just some activities that we conducted throughout the year. So this was Academia Day, and again, we were given very short notice for this, and yet all of you banded together, and we not only had an Academia Day, but we had Academia Month with many interesting activities. Again, just getting you to work across departmental walls. Next. This is the gotong royong that I mentioned earlier, spruced up the faculty in time for the new intake. Next. And I think we really need to take a moment to appreciate our student body. We have talented, passionate, committed students, whether they're medical students, nursing students, biomedical students, so on. And they are very self-directed, right? They see a problem and they try to solve a problem. This was medical students realizing that blood bank was short of supplies and then initiating their own event to bring in donors to the hospital to shore up our supplies. They did it almost entirely by themselves, a little bit of guidance here and there, but essentially they did it themselves. And not only did they engage our staff and our students, they actually engage students and staff from the main campus, so from other faculties, right? So, our students can do wonderful things if we encourage them, if we support them, but they do need guidance. I have to say this, they do need guidance because sometimes they don't understand the technical or administrative aspects to keep themselves safe as well, right? So I hope that if you have the chance to engage with them on these various activities, please mentor them well. Okay, it's really important. Next. Academic excellence, let's go on. Move. Okay. So I think we have always had good academic programs, but we need to really look at making them continually relevant. Okay, so if we're still using curricula from 10 years ago, they might not be relevant anymore. And at the same time, we have to make sure that they are not only profitable, but sustainable. And so I have been looking at a number, thankfully a small, but still a number of programs that we are wondering about the sustainability. Okay, so if your enrollment numbers are small, your costs are high, and the faculties constantly have to channel resources from other programs into your program, then it may be that we'll decide at some point that when it's not sustainable. So this is the process of penjumudan program, which I'm sure Sharul is very expert at. I probably can tell you more about it, but that will happen if your program is not sustainable. Okay. We also want to embed in our programs, the qualities of diversity, equity, and inclusivity. Okay, whether it's at entry level or during the program, we need to ensure that we protect these values. Okay, we also want to make sure that our programs, are not just ciplak orang lain punya program, right? Because if you take programs from other countries, other environments, it might not be purpose fit for us. We need to do the hard work at looking at what we need. What do we want to produce? Why do we need to produce it? And so I think that was something that the whole national curriculum exercise was really valuable for us. And I'm glad that many of the drivers in the specialties were from UM, because now you have the understanding and the skills to be able to develop a purpose-fit academic program. And I hope you will continue to lead the charge in this manner. Okay, because it boggles my mind that there are still those that don't understand how to create a curriculum. Okay, it is not just about copying and pasting from another university or another institution overseas. But all of you, as trainers, as teachers, etc., we need to look after you as well. Okay, so we will be looking at how we can improve your journey so that we can help you. If you're in the early stages, we help you develop your skills. But if you are somebody who is already well along your journey, how can you then be empowered to pass that on to those that come after you? Okay, and part of that is actually supporting you with our infrastructure, so digital assets, as well as helping you to innovate programs such as micro-credentialing and ODL by providing you with the tools and the skills to be able to do that. Finally, I think it's really important, as I mentioned earlier, that we engage our student body. And so we have to do this intentionally, again, not just hoping that it will happen organically, but intentionally. So you may have seen in your emails, SHE programs, SHE. These are student empowerment programs, which you may be asked to contribute to. But at the same time, we don't necessarily have to only do the university-related programs. We can create programs of our own to empower our students. We're also resurrecting the student welfare tabung, yes, right? Tabung kebajikan, because we know that there are many of our students that are not very financially well off, and they're struggling because of that. Okay, so our DDs have been working very hard actually to identify these people and then help them, because they're proud. They won't come to us for help by themselves. Okay, and we hope that we will furnish our students not just with the academic and technical skills, but really make them resilient, make them able to overcome obstacles in the future. So what we call future-ready graduates. Next. I'm conscious that time is running, but I think these are really important things to get across to you. So for high-value academic programs, we talked about sustainability, so we will be tailoring the fee structure, okay, and so that probably there will be different levels of fee structures depending on the entry pathway. We have actually developed an e-portfolio at the moment, for postgraduate programs, and we are in the process of piloting it with a few of the specialties, but eventually it will be rolled out to the others. And this is actually quite exciting because we built it from scratch. We worked with a company, a vendor for the IT infrastructure itself, but the content is from us, from the academics. And this is one example of how we might be able to commercialize something that was developed for teaching and learning processes. Okay, because once this is created, it may be something that is of value to other universities, to even Ministry of Health, as they conduct their parallel programs, etc. And so we may be able to commercialize this. Yeah, I didn't want to use the word sell, but yeah. Then we've been working very hard over the past year on professionalizing trainers. And this is really important if we're going to increase training capacity, particularly for the clinical specialties, right, in the whole country. Because we have been calculating our trainer-trainee ratios in some specialties anyway, just based on the academic staff. But really, it shouldn't be like that. If you're training them out in Ministry of Health, then those trainers need to be included in the numbers. But you need to make sure they have the skills and competencies as a trainer. So it's not just about being a clinical expert. They have to actually know how to supervise. They have to know how to look at research proposals, and so on and so on. They have to know how to do workplace-based assessments. So that's what professionalization of trainers is. We have got a steering committee for that. We've come up with curriculum. We've actually come up with the training materials, actually, which comprises lectures, both asynchronous as well as synchronous lecture materials. And we have already successfully completed the first cohort of directors for the different specialties. So it's moved on very, very quickly. And then finally, we want to enhance our quality assurance systems. And so that's why, Cindy has been really quite critical, and she's trained up a number of what we call program quality assurance experts, or ProQs, so to help out with the different types of programs. Next. Okay, so this is just to show you the launch of the national curriculum, which I think now is starting to really gain traction, because both Ministry of Health and Ministry of Higher Education see the importance of this. Next. So I would encourage those specialties that haven't completed it, please get your skates on and finish it by this year. Next. These are just some of the tools that we have for helping trainers as well as learners on their journey. Next. And as I mentioned before, UME Health, again, has got 4 sub-units that can help drive developments in the areas of informatics, telehealth, e-learning, as well as EMR and clinical registry. So this unit is headed by Prof. Pang. If you're interested to contribute to any of these areas, please get in touch with him. Next. And this is just showing you one of the programs that they have developed. This is the My Virtual Patient, yes, where they have come up with a number of different patient scenarios, and students can actually work through it. Helps them with decision making and so on and so forth, critical reasoning, basically. Next. For student empowerment, we've spent the last year actually consolidating the engagement with student bodies. And so we have not just MedSoc, which is the medical students, but we also have student bodies for biomed, nursing, and what we're in the process of trying to develop is something for the postgraduate students, because they've really been left to their own devices and they're not really very united. Bearing in mind that we've got both non-clinical as well as clinical postgrads. You see that we are trying to engage more with industry. So if you've got potential industry collaborations, talk to us. We'll try and facilitate that. As you know, we have engaged with both faculty members as well as students when it comes to welfare, for crisis responses, for the vaccination response. I mean, that was amazing that all of you contributed to that. And we've been very effective in that front. Next. Okay, this is just the medical students that were helping out at the vaccine center in UMMC. Next. Research. Move on. So here we want to have skilled and ethical researchers. We want to promote interdisciplinary research, and we want the research ecosystem to be equitable. And that's mainly relating to funding as well as facilities. Next. I think the main thing I want to say here is whenever you're thinking about initiating research or a research project, please think about what the final impact is going to be, because I think that is how you're going to be able to leverage grants. Okay, it's not just about finding some, novel mutation in a particular gene. It's like what downstream impact will it have? So when you think about your projects, can you please focus on what's in the right-hand column? This is where we want to move you towards implementation science. All right. And to do this, I think you really need both the clinical and preclinical departments to work together. Okay, because the clinicians know what the clinical research question is. They know what the problem that they want to solve is. They might not necessarily know how to get there. And the non-clinicians, you have the skills, you have the research know-how, right? You know how to get there, but you might not necessarily have the clinical research question. Okay, so work together is basically the summary of this slide. Next. And I want to say that, as I've told you, I've sat in a number of interview panels, and it's been very heartening to get feedback from the Senate members, LPU members, when they say, oh, Faculty of Medicine has done really well in terms of research output this year. And I think that's what you see in this slide. Okay, but we can't rest on our laurels. When you're successful, it means the pressure increases for you to be even more successful. And I think we have a lot of untapped talent, because the reason why that curve is going up is because those who are good are obviously still maintaining their output, but it is because those who previously were not having any output at all have started to publish at least 1 or 2 papers a year. And that's what we want to do. Because if you're already producing 20 papers a year, I don't think I can ask you to produce 50, right? But if you've never published anything, then I think it's easier for us to get you to move to publishing 1 or 2. Okay? So I hope that's what the heads of department will try to do at your department level. Identify people who are really not contributing. Okay? And I think you need Two, and this is something that the KPI pointer system has done quite effectively, it's actually objectively measuring research output. Okay, you can't fake it anymore. You can't say, well, it's sort of halfway written. Okay, so ketua jabatan bagi 8 markah. Right? That doesn't happen anymore. It has to be published. Okay? And I'm afraid because we can't really afford to have, and I don't like this term, but I'm going to use it, dead weight. We cannot have dead weight in the faculty. Right? It cannot be that 80% of the work is done by 20% of the people. Cannot be. Right? Everyone has to pull their weight. Next. Okay, just again, it's nice to see big numbers, but of course, this is not money that we can just spend, right? It's for grants, for research, but still, it's nice to see that we've increased our total grants received. Next. I will say, however, that internal grants and even national grants, the pool is reducing. And so we do need to look at external grants, overseas grants, as well as perhaps leverage on your industry contacts, because you can get grants through industry. All right. And I want to particularly exhort the professors, the senior professors. You have that clout, you have that influence. Work, establish your team, work to try and attract these international or industrial grants. Okay, I know you can do it. Next. Just in terms of skilled and ethical researchers, I just wanted to, highlight that every year we actually run training programs for new lecturers, for research methods and research supervision. The emails go out. I know that maybe they're the kind of emails that you delete without even reading, but please encourage your junior staff, your early career academic staff to take advantage of this so that they don't feel like they're struggling alone. All right, next. We've actually got a whole year's schedule already for 2022. So I think we can make this available to you so that you can pass it on to your staff, so they can actually make time in their schedule to attend this. Next. Next. So as I mentioned before, we want you to collaborate. Don't work in silos. Make use of the communication tools that you have. So even if we're not able to meet in person, you can communicate through these 3 publications that we have. JUMEC, of course, is the research publication. Prof. Lau actually is the chief editor for this. So if you've got papers, please publish them here if you think it's appropriate for this. We are in the process of getting this to ISI status. Right now it's Scopus, so you will still get points if you publish here. Do support it. It is open access, it's free to publish, so especially for your early career researchers, try this. I mean, it's actually very good quality publications in JUMEC, and the editorial process is quite stringent, I have to say. I tested it, so it is quite stringent. Pulse is also a research bulletin, but it's more of reporting on research-related activities. Okay, and Rubrica I've mentioned before. Next. Okay, this is just to say, how well we collaborate at both national and international level. But I think, again, this can be pushed much, much harder. Next. We've got a lot of research facilities and I, from time to time, get requests from departments to establish their own lab. And I'm like, why don't you have a look at what is already available in the faculty? Because many of our laboratory facilities are actually underutilized. And so rather than trying to create something from scratch and then have the headache of trying to ensure that it's sustainable, because there's running costs, to labs, please look at how you can optimize what is already available. Okay, and we're happy to work with you. Talk to Prof. Sanjay, talk to Prof. Wan in Cik Firdaus. Okay, next. Yeah, I think this is just reiterating some of the things we said in teaching and learning, just that this will be in a research ecosystem. Next. As I mentioned, we've got lots and lots of research labs actually. There's a CRL, which not only has labs, but it also provides services like calibration and procurement of consumables and so on. Next. If you need to do animal experiments, we have a really excellent animal experimental unit. They are actually, they have the equivalent of GMP for manufacturing services, right? But they have the equivalent of that for animal units. So if you can do really high quality international level work here. Next. Biobank as well, if you've got tissues that need to be stored for a particular research project, please reach out to our biobank. Next. And then if you need imaging, we've got Centuary, which is the Central Unit for Advanced Research Imaging. And we also have an immunotherapeutics laboratory, which again is to a very high standard. This is the one that Rina is heading, right? If you don't know where it's parked, please reach out to us. We'll tell you where it is. Immunotherapeutics, I think it's in the KWKK, right? So maybe not the most intuitive place for it to be, but that's where it is at the moment. Next. Okay, very, very important, best for last, right? Infrastructure and financial sustainability. You will know that we established a business unit which is headed by Prof. Vicky, but that is looking at business opportunities. But we also need to actually have efficient fund management. And this is the business administration unit, which Encik Hanif heads. I think there's been a lot of work done over the past year to streamline the processes, both in terms of infrastructure, but in terms also of the integrity of the administrative process. So we have now separated the staff that deal with procurement versus the staff that deal with payment, okay, or reimbursement, okay, because you can't have the same people handling both of this for integrity purposes. Next, please. So just very, very quickly going to go through this. This is the business unit. Prof. Vicky is there, and you can see who the other staff members are. We are looking at actually expanding this, but as I've said before, that requires money, so you need to make money to make more money. But they report to me directly. Next. This is what the business unit does. If you've got a potential business venture, they will look at your proposal. There is a template for it, so you just have to follow the format. It's quite easy. And then they will evaluate, the opportunities there, and they will actually help you to make this income generating. Okay, next. Okay, these are just some of the projects that they've looked at over the past almost 1 year. Next. So moving forward, these are some of the activities that we hope to undertake in the coming year or two. You can see the more sort of day-to-day stuff on the left-hand side, but towards the right, you will see how we're hoping to raise funds so that we can do all the things that you want us to do for you. Next. Regarding the facilities and space, we have actually upgraded a number of the facilities, which I will show you shortly. We are also looking at interventions to minimize or optimize the operational costs, such as converting to more energy efficient equipment. And then for the future, we are looking at developing or contributing ideas to development of Section 15. This is the area that is next to the UMSC clinic. Okay, there are some big plans like building a hospital, a private hospital there, but also some other faculty-related facilities. So we're hoping that those will move forward in the very near future, actually. And then to support our own staff, we are going to develop a proper studio, for you to do your online recordings, for you to record infomercials or whatever regarding your field of expertise, for you to take official photos if you need to, and so on and so forth. Okay, as well as the museum. That's one of our big plans. We've had approval for funding to develop this museum, but of course this requires quite a lot of planning, again, to ensure that it's sustainable and that we don't sort of lose out when pandemics hit us and people can't actually physically come. So it cannot just be a physical museum, it needs to be a virtual museum as well, so that we can still engage with people even if there are movement control orders. Next. Yeah, I think we can move on. This is just about how we're going to enhance the staff actually that are engaged in facility management. Next. And just to say that we haven't spent the last year just shaking legs, right? There has actually been renovation work going on. And I know maybe the photos don't really do it justice, but the top floor of CSU has undergone quite extensive renovation. The roof has been fixed. This was one of the places where the roof was about to fall down. The walls were infested with termites. And so the whole thing was in danger of collapsing actually. And we were blithely conducting our skill training there, right? Not knowing that the roof could fall down on us. So the roof has been fixed. The interior of the top floor has been redone. The flooring has been redone. We've actually embedded IT infrastructure so that it will be IT capable, that have functionality. Next slide, please. So you can see all the spaces have been done. And I want to tell the surgical and anesthetic departments next that we've also redone the simulated operating theatre. So please make use of it. You know, you can train, you can simulate operations here. Next. Okay, and we've redone the pantry. You can see it's much more open now. It's not just that small narrow space. We've opened it up into the offices next to it, so that whole area is now pantry area, okay, for eating. So when you run your workshops, people can actually sit there rather than standing in front of the lift and eating, because that's what we used to do. We used to just stand in front of the lift and eat. Okay, next. This is Medicafe, which you know has reopened. So if you look on the left, that was what it was like before, you know, broken and falling apart as well. So we fixed that. Next. Yep. So yeah, it was pretty bad. Next, and it was rat infested and all that as well. So it looks really nice now, and so I would really encourage you to use it on a regular basis, because we somehow, thanks to Prof. Wan, managed to convince the proprietor actually to pay for all of this renovation. Right? So amazing. Next. And then Synapse has also been redone. And I know there's some limitations now because of the pandemic, that it's not so easy for us to gather. But you know, provided SOPs are complied with, I would encourage you to use this space. It's actually quite nice. And thank you to Prof. Lo Pui San, yeah, for spearheading this. Next. Next. Okay, I just want to say to you that why is it that we have to engage with philanthropy, we have to beg for money, etc. It's because renovations cost money, and I just want to give you an idea of what quanta of money is needed. Okay, so the roof of CSU that I told you we fixed, that cost us 1 million. Okay, and then we're now trying to fix the facade, the frontage of CSU, and that's our own internal resources. We're having to spend about 450,000. Okay, and here listed in front is, you can see a few more renovations that are needed and how much money is needed. Okay, so generally you're looking at around 1 million really for proper renovations. You don't want to just paint the walls and then, you know, the inside is crumbling. You want to do proper, long-lasting, sustainable renovations. Next. So again, it's just a list, and I just want to give a shout out to Department of Parasitology, who were very proactive in raising their own funds to renovate some of their facilities in preparation for launching a new course, a new program. Okay, next. So just another long list of, but you will see that we do have a plan for renovation. There are certain departments that will be prioritized first based on when their last renovations were. And also based on the need, okay? Because some of these are really falling apart at the moment. Next. Yep, next. So you'll see why I'm so desperate for money, right? Okay, and so that brings us to finance at FOM, which is Hanif's baby. And I think when I came in, coming from a surgical background, we always talk about stopping the bleeding, right? Stop the bleeding first before you go on to do anything more. Because if you don't, then you may find suddenly the patient is dead while you were trying to do all the fancy stuff, right? So when we came in, we did realize that there was some uh, leakages of money that needed to be stopped immediately, and so we have done that. We're now, I understand, in a relatively more stable situation, and we've tried to rationalize the employment of the contract staff, and try to make sure that they also, even though they're contract staff, they actually have career paths so that they can grow and move on. We look at the financial sustainability of programs, of projects, of courses, and so on. But also, it's very important that we improve your financial literacy. You need to understand how to manage money. Okay, and so both as administrative heads, but even as administrative staff, and even for you as other members of staff, whenever you organize something, you do something, or you ask for money, you must be able to come up with a budget, a financial plan. Okay, and that financial plan has to at least break even. Okay, we cannot be losing $250,000 here, $500,000 there, just because we didn't plan the budget properly. All right, next. Okay, so these are just some of the activities that finance has achieved over the past years. We've actually consolidated the numerous accounts that the Faculty of Medicine has. We've now got an electronic financial system. This is called the FIRST system. We've trained the department administrative staff on financial competencies. And we're now centralized all the procurement and reimbursement processes. Okay, so what was happening before is sometimes the faculty was bypassed when people asked for equipment or asked for procurements, and they would go centrally directly to Treasury. But the problem is then Treasury will say, faculty bayar lah. Right? We would not know about it. We would not have been able to plan for it. Okay, and also it's not fair because you need to look at the faculty's needs. You need to know which departments are the ones that are struggling or which have the greatest needs, and perhaps don't have the means to generate income as much as some. All right. So I think in the interest of being equitable, we wanted to do this. It is more work for us, but I think it has meant we were able to really rationalize how we spend our money. Okay, next. Okay, this is just some of the training that was provided to the administrative staff. Next. And looking forward, we want you to think about how we might be able to find new opportunities to generate income. And it's not impossible. These are just some examples of how we've been able to generate income. And I mentioned Satu to you before. But the APMEC conference that recently concluded, this is the Asia Pacific Medical Education Conference. It's one of the premier international medical education conferences. Profit is close to $1 million from running one conference. Okay, of course, it helped that it was a virtual platform, and so we didn't have a lot of expenditure. And I have to disclaimer here, not the entire 1 million will come to us, but I'm saying that doing something like this can generate income. Okay, and I think it's given confidence to our Merdu to actively bid for other medical education conferences. So I want you to start thinking about this also on your own related areas of expertise. Okay, next. So I was going to take 1 hour, but I've taken 2 hours, and I do apologize for that. If you have some burning questions, we will try to answer them. I'm happy to stay on for a little while. But in summary, I would say that we have actually come a long way, and I wanted to celebrate that a little bit. But with rising expectations, we still have a long way to go as well. But I hope that by giving you the big picture, you have some clarity as to the direction we need to go in. Key things are impact and internationalization. We need to think about that. Okay. We will at the faculty level endeavor to support you, whether it's from, human resource support, infrastructure, any way that we can facilitate you in terms of skills and competencies. But we need you to also engage. We need you to volunteer. We need you to collaborate. Okay. Don't work in silos. And I think if we do this, if we work together, we will actually achieve not just FOM's goals, but UM's and the nation's goals. And I want to really invite all of you to join me on this journey, because I think we will be very, very successful if you do. Okay, so that's it from me. Thank you very much. Sangat-sangat panjang ya. I will try to make sure next year's one is not too long, not as long as this. But yes, any questions, whether from those in the room or online? Ada dalam chat ke atau?
I have a comment about maybe whether or not UM is thinking a little bit about. So sometimes we want to be seen as a. I know it's. I don't know. If we want to be seen as a premier university and so on and so forth. So things like going green, environmental awareness, has that been incorporated? Because everywhere I see is plastic this, plastic that, and stuff like that. And, and I think it also just gives an impression sometimes. I just thought maybe it's not just about being politically correct or whatever, but I really think it's important. And I hope that the university is looking into that, maybe less on the faculty level and not just building, and not thinking of green belts and things like that as well.
Thanks, Prof. Ida, for the question. It actually is embedded in both the UM transformation plan, the UM strategic plan, but also in the various sort of research initiatives. And we actually do have, I can't remember the name now, but we do actually have a center that looks at green initiatives, etc. I think it's a matter of the spirit is willing, but the body is weak. So we're good at strategizing. We're not necessarily great at implementation. And that applies to other things as well. And so what we have tried to do in the past year is, rather than just spend a lot of time talking about things, we've actually tried to put things into action. And I hope people have started to see some meaningful outcomes. We have lots of great plans, strategic plans, financial plans, whatever, but the problem lies in carrying those plans out. Okay, we seem to want to wait until everything is perfect before we try and do things, and I think we just need to move. Okay, so I take your point. Actually, under the KIK initiatives, one of the projects is called Changkol. I don't know if Tiba is here, but there's a Changkol project where, again, there's a little green space, just outside here, where they've started growing organic vegetables, and they've already had some harvesting, etc. So that's part of it. But I agree with you about the use of plastics. We need to do something serious about that. And if it hasn't been initiated yet by UM, maybe FOM can be the lead. So if there's anyone who's interested in championing this, please come and see us, and we will help you get it off the ground. Yeah, sure. But leaving, whatever is for safety, health and safety, you can't really do too much about that. Although I suppose somebody could do research and invent masks that are biodegradable yet still, offer protection. So there's a research project for you. Yeah.
No, I know, it's just that I mean, I guess it's just a little point that I think, I'm sure everyone knows this, but it's just in the process of development. I think we really, Malaysia, it's always a problem with this. It's about the getting the balance between development and just keeping, because we're
Yeah.
such a beautiful country. The campus is very beautiful.
Yeah.
And I just don't want to see, buildings after buildings and not, sort of really think about
Yeah.
the
Well,
green
well, well.
impact
My,
as
my,
well.
my philosophy is that if we see a problem, we shouldn't wait for somebody else to solve it for us. We should just solve it. Yep. Identify the problem, identify the solution, and then do it. Move on. I honestly don't have a lot of energy to just complain about things. If I can do something about it, I will do it. If I can't, then move on. Right? It's just too draining to just complain without any action. Any other questions? I think everyone's still digesting, right? Is this being recorded so we can make it available? Okay, all right. So then you can percolate and digest over a longer period. But please, I'm serious about if you have a problem or if you want to do something you're not quite sure how to proceed, please come and see us. One of the initiatives last year, if some of you remember, was the Tea with the Dean. So we did start that, and I met with some of you. It's been on hold because we were sorting out the KPI issues and this whole planning for 2022. But we will reinitiate that in short order, and so it is meant to be. It's not just a social thing, right? It's if you got a problem, I will try and find a way to help you solve it. But make the appointment with Puan Siti, and then tell us at least in a nutshell what the problem is. Just a sentence or two, 1 or 2 words or whatever. What area of the problem is, so that I can make sure that the right people are at that meeting to help you solve your problem. So if it's an infrastructure problem, I make sure that I arm twist Prof. Wan to come and Encik Firdaus, right? If it's a problem with undergraduate curriculum, then we can make sure Murdu comes, Prof. Yazid comes. If it's dealing with difficult students, then I will ask Sharizal to come. So we need to know so that we can give you constructive and actionable advice. Okay. This is from Krishna. Okay, so there's a comment in the chat box from Krishna, and this is relating to the KIK initiatives. As you know, we had quite a number of submissions for the year 2021, and I think there were three projects that were finally accepted and are actually ongoing. One of it was Changko, which I mentioned to you. But for 2022, we would like to send more submissions. So start thinking about it. And this can be from anyone. It doesn't just have to be from academic staff. It can be from administrative staff, support staff, I think students as well. But it would be good if you work together to come up with the proposals. All right, so Krishna, do you want to tell us how to get in touch? Maybe you can type it in the chat box. Or I suppose, you can just email one of the management and we'll put you in touch with the right people. Okay? Good idea, good suggestion. Thanks very much. I think the other thing I wanted to mention is that when it comes to appointing people for leadership roles, I think we've largely relied in the past on word of mouth, heads suggesting names, or we ourselves from our own networks, identifying people who might be suitable. But I think the one very important ingredient about taking on leadership roles is that you must want to do it. you can be very capable, but if you don't have the passion or you don't have the commitment for it, you are probably not going to do a great job. Okay, and so what we're aiming to do, and we started doing this a little bit already, but we will definitely do it moving forward, is that we will always advertise the availability of leadership roles. Okay, whether it's the head of a unit, head of whatever, right? At faculty level, we will advertise it so that it is open. It's not seen as, oh, kalau you baik dengan dekan boleh lah jadi ketua ni, ketua tu. Right? We want it to be very fair and transparent, and we want to give that opportunity because maybe there are some hidden talents out there that are not recognized by us, unfortunately. But this is your opportunity to put yourself forward. Okay. All right. I think I have probably taken enough of your time. Thank you for staying till the bitter end. As I've said earlier, doors open. Email is definitely open all the time. WhatsApp is also responded to. Maybe not immediately, but definitely within short order. I think the whole team is here ready to help you. That there is a saying, and I'm paraphrasing here, is that there are three duties of a leader, right? The first one is to set standards. The final one is to say thank you to everyone. But in the middle, the leader is the servant to those that they lead. And so this is what we are. We are here to help you to reach your full potential. Okay. Thank you very much and have a good rest of the day.